They opened up in 30th of January 1649. A cold king came out and got his head chopped off. So that's when the execution of Charles I happened. He was executed because he wasn't really a team player, and the Puritans in Parliament thought that he was a tyrant. On the right hand side you can see the railings there, the most well-known address in London, Downing Street. So up at the end on the right is a black house, number 10, and that's where the Prime Minister lives. So the Prime Minister, the equivalent of Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, is Rishi Sunak here. On the right hand side, that memorial there with the flags is our main memorial to our war dead. As we carry on up here, you'll see through the triple archway on the right some Tamils protesting, I would imagine. They're always there in front of the FCO, the Foreign Commonwealth Office on the right hand side. So they're the minority people in Sri Lanka, the island just off at the bottom of India. So as we come up here, again, normally lots of protests here because this is the beating heart of our democracy. So you can see some guy protesting here with a purple flag. I think, oh okay, I don't know what he's protesting about, sometimes it's hard to tell. But on the left hand side, I was asked about Big Ben, so we're going to see Big Ben on the left here. We're not going to see Big Ben because Big Ben is not the clock or the tower. Big Ben is the 14-ton bell underneath. So the actual tower was called the Clock Tower, but then 12 years ago some sycophantic member of Parliament in the House of Commons suggested one morning changing the name from the Clock Tower to Elizabeth Tower. Like the former Queen didn't have enough things named after her. She's got about a quarter of Antarctica named after her. I don't think she really cared about these things. They weren't important to her. I guess it makes sense in so much as the other tower up on the other side is known as the Victoria Tower. So a certain amount of synchronicity going on there. To the right of Big Ben is the House of Commons, 650 members of Parliament. So they're the ones that we elect. So there we are. There is Big Ben. If you can't see it because you're on the right, don't worry, we'll do a spin round. And then you can see the House of Commons just to the right of Big Ben. The building with the sloping roof on the left-hand side is where the late Queen lay in state for 4 days in September 2022. Yeah, we'll do a whole spin round. Okay. And then after the hall you've got the House of Lords, which unlike the Senate in Canada and the Senate in America, we do not elect the people in there. Canadians elect their senators, don't they? Or do you not?
They're appointed.
They're appointed. Okay, so same as us. I thought you elected them somehow. Okay, so they are appointed like us. Well, a difference between the Canadian upper house and this one is we've got 92 seats there, 92 peers that are aristocrats that only got their seat because their father passed their seat to their son when they died. And if those men have got older sisters, they get diddly squat. They don't get the seat or the stately home because of primogeniture, always favouring the males in the line. On the left-hand side, that white building is our Supreme Court. To the right of it, you can see Abraham Lincoln, former president. Lots of statues here, and you've got just over your right shoulder actually Millicent Fawcett. So she was a suffragette, but she wasn't suffragette, she was a suffragist. So the suffragists were like suffragettes campaigning for women to get the vote back in the early 20th century. They just weren't quite as full on with their campaign of civil disobedience. The suffragettes would tie themselves, chain themselves, the railings of Buckingham Palace. They blew up the coronation chair, the incendiary bombs smashed all the windows in the shops in Oxford Street, whereas her movement was a bit more chilled out. But it wasn't really the campaigning of the suffragists and suffragettes that enabled women to get the vote in 1918. It was more the fact that women had been doing all the men's jobs in the factories, making the tanks and the armaments in the First World War, growing the food in the fields as well. So they got the vote. When did Canadian women get the vote? An American? Who was first out of you two to get the vote for women? Anyone know? So here it wasn't very fair for women because it was all men over 21 in 1918, but women over 30, and they had to own a certain amount of property as well. So wasn't quite universal suffrage, but it was a start. Now on the right hand side you can see Churchill, the well-known Prime Minister, facing the House of Commons, where he gave a lot of those spectacular speeches to the nation during the dark days of the Blitz, the bombing by the Nazis. We've got an election coming up, exciting. When's the next Canadian election? I mean, your Prime Minister, he seems to be around for about 20 years. He's been around for ages. When's your next election?
Any day now.
Is it? Really? Any day now? Okay.
Next
I mean,
year.
ours could
Next
be any
year.
It's next fall.
Do
Next
you
year.
have fixed parliamentary terms, or can the Prime Minister call it whenever he or she feels the Canadian people are likely to re-elect? Have you ever had a female Prime Minister in Canada?
Yes, Kim Campbell, 1992
Oh,
or 93.
92, 93. Very good. So we're probably going to have our election about the same time the Americans have theirs. Something tells me the world will be more interested in the American one. So as we push on here, the King... I'll go down top of your street, yeah, the King, he'll make his way here for the state opening of Parliament every November. So just like the Governor-General would read the King's speech, the government's programme of legislation in Canada in the lower house, just like the American President goes along and has his, what's it called, State of the Union address. Something similar happens here in November. This is Westminster Abbey on the left-hand side, so this is the Coronation Church. What I think we'll do actually is we'll get out here and then we'll just have a little wander so we can have a look at that, and then we'll just